Overtired. So tired. Overtired.
Hello, it's time. It's summer. It's time to turn down the Van Halen and your Firebird, and join us. Overtired. I'm Jeff Severns Gunsel. I'm here with co-hosts Christina Warren and Brett Terpstra. The band is together again. And last time I'll be here for a bit because I'm going to Kenya with my family. So yeah, here we are. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Good. Hi, Christina.
Hello. I'm pretty good too. I mean a little overtired, but not too bad. But just mostly just really glad that the band is back together.
Yeah. What instruments do we have here? We have a trio. I'm traditionally the drummer, but I'm happy to be.
I'm traditionally bass, I guess.
Okay, Christina, that's guitar and singing because
Yeah, I
we
was
can't
gonna
let
say,
the bass player or the drummer sing.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm traditionally the singer is actually.
I really enjoy trios where the drummer has the mic. It's
I like that too.
amazing to me that someone can drum and sing
agree.
well at the same time. It's astounding.
I want to give you a different paradigm. My band, Freedom Fighters, back in the '90s, we had two guitar players, no bass player, and I had the mic not to sing, but unfortunately to talk between songs because my brother, who sang and played guitar, didn't necessarily want to, and that was not something that he always loved. Like he would try to count the song off while I was talking, and I'd kind of go, "Oh, hold on, I'm not done."
Wait, you don't count. You don't count. I'm the drummer.
Yeah, that's like the main thing I'm here for. Admit it. You need me to count the song off a little too fast.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's go, band. We've decided in our pre-show to cede Mental Health Corner to Brett, who has lost a great animal, pet, and friend in Yeti. And Brett, we'd love to hear about how you're doing.
I am. So yeah. I'll give you a quick storyline for Yeti, who has come up on this podcast before. Listeners will be familiar with my cat Yeti. But at the age of 19 years and 9 months,
Wow.
last Thursday, he was energetic, considering he's been deteriorating, right? He went from 20 pounds to 6 pounds. Skin and bones, but on Thursday he was energetic and following me around the house, and every time I would sit down he would jump in my lap and just was with me constantly. And then Friday morning at 2 a.m. he crawled into bed, got under my covers, and that was the last time he moved on his own. So for the duration of Friday, I knew it was the end. I knew this was goodbye. And I called a vet, and we set up a home visit for Saturday morning, where we could give him some humane euthanasia in the comfort of his home. But I would put him on Friday. I spent most of the day working on the couch so I could be close to him. And I would put him in the middle of the couch, and I would sit in the corner, and he would pull his fucking body over to me and bury his head in my thigh, and then reach his paw out for my hand, like he was holding my hand. And I have a picture of this, and it breaks my heart every time I see it, because he was clearly, he knew it was the end. Saturday morning, I took him to bed with me. Friday night, I laid him next to me, and Saturday morning at about 5:15 a.m., I woke up and I reached over and put my hand on him, and he looked up, took 2 deep breaths, and then breathed it out, and he was gone. And that was it. Yeah, he went peacefully. He went without a lot of discomfort. And he was with me for close to 20 years. And it's not a tragedy. There's no part of it that feels like, oh, he was taken too soon. He had so much left to give. He gave me all his love, and I gave him all my love for 20 years. And sure, there's a hole because he was part of me every day.
Yeah.
For 20 years. So I miss him, but at the same time, he did a real good job. And we buried him Saturday morning, and I can see his grave from my office. And There's a lot of there's a hole, there's a lot of sadness, but it's so just a couple years ago, I had to put down a 9-month-old kitten. I don't know if you guys recall,
Yes,
but
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
That was awful.
that haunted me forever because that felt like a real tragedy. Like I was grieving not only the life of this young kitten, but also all the future I had planned with him. And in this case, like I knew the end was coming. I've known the end was coming for years. I didn't have a future plan, so I'm not grieving future Yeti. I'm grieving just the hole that he left behind. So
Yeah.
so that is my mental health corner right there.
Man. Intense.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to have those moments with him and that you had all that time with him and that he was with you, frankly. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
that
yeah.
that makes me really, really happy. And I'm so sorry, obviously, for having to go through it. But as you say, yeah, like I remember when you went through the situation, it was with it wasn't Finnegan. It was
Finnegan. It was
yeah, it's
Finnegan.
Finnegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finnegan. I remember how awful that was, and because of the age and everything, and because you kind of hadn't been expecting it, and not that this is any less like tragic, but you have the experience of having time and knowing. Like when I saw that photo of that you sent us of the two of you together, which is just an amazing photo. It breaks my heart, but it also makes my heart full
Yeah.
because you can just tell that these are two creatures that love each other so much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that makes me really like just I'm grateful that you both had that experience.
Thanks.
As sorry as I am, and as even teary as I'm getting, um, thinking about this for you because this has to be so hard. Um, Losing pets, as we've talked about before, is often can be harder than losing people, but it feels like you were in the right place and you're in the right mindset to be able to say goodbye, and that you had that opportunity to say goodbye,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is really important.
Like I honestly, for the last couple years, I've dreaded the day when it was over. And I've been trying to psych myself up for it for years. And now that it's come, I'm actually really peaceful about it. Like I can kind the sadness is kind of bittersweet. Like I can already just a week later, I can already like appreciate Yeti's life and everything he gave. And it's not nearly as traumatic as I thought it was going to be to lose this part of me. But Bod, our graveyard kitten, immediately after Yeti's last day, started filling in for Yeti. Like like she's obviously been watching him for like 2 years and figuring out like what Yeti's role was, and as soon as he was gone, she's like in my lap. Yeti loved to have his chin scratched. Like if you started scratching at his throat, he would lift his head way back and let you like just pet his entire chin and throat. And Bod never used to do that. Now she does. Now she pushes in and looks for your hand, and then she like rolls her head back. And she clearly learned a lot from Yeti.
That's so
She also
interesting.
learned how to be a very picky eater from Yeti.
Huh. Interesting. I'm just so the part of that story with Yeti that's incredible is that he waited until you woke up.
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
know.
That is just unreal.
I know. Like he was looking out for me as much as I was looking out for him at the end.
That's really
yes,
awesome.
yes, which is beautiful, and like that's the sort of thing. Like I don't know, I'm not a religious person at all, obviously, but things like that do make you, I guess, just happy that the universe works the way that it does.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I know you hear so many stories like that with death of humans, but not as many about pets.
That's what I'm saying. If for
Yeah.
me, like it's almost more powerful with a pet, because we do have different relationships with them, and they're obviously we know cats are smarter than dogs, but they have different, they're still it's a different thing, and so just knowing that sort of empathy can exist between two different species is really great.
That is the word I would always use to describe Yeti, was empathetic.
Yeah.
Like, he was always in touch with my own like emotions and pain and joy, and he would support me through all of that. And it was like, sure, there's a certain amount of anthropomorphizing that I do with my pets, and I totally acknowledge that. But Yeti, like, the concern in his eyes when I wasn't feeling well, and the way if I had a stomach ache, he would like place his hand on my tummy, but not crawl on top of it. His paw, I mean, his hand. See, I'm anthropomorphizing, but yeah, like, he was just always the most empathetic cat.
Yeah.
Bod is not an empathetic cat. Bod does not give a fuck how you're feeling. She wants what she wants when she wants it. Yeti was never like that.
Do you ever make the mistake of anthropomorphizing humans? I think I've given you too much credit.
That reminds me of the I can't remember what law it is, but never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by incompetence.
That's good. I like that. Well, rest in power, Yeti. And it's not just that Yeti, it was mentioned on the podcast a lot. Yeti comes into the screen for us on the podcast a lot. And even when I've worked with you in the past, it's like, that's also a presence. Both your cats, but.
So you can see I'm wearing
my MCAD shirt.
MCAD
Explain.
Facilities.
Nice.
This was the uniform I wore when I worked electrical and plumbing for MCAD,
which is
Minneapolis College of Art and Design.
Yeah.
And I paid for my rent and my heroin habit by plunging toilets for dorm people in the dorms, and wiring light bulbs and replacing light bulbs in the art hall. What would you call it? The art display area. Atrium.
Oh,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was like 2 stories high, and there were light bulbs way at the top, and you had to get in one of those rising lifts, and like, you had this pole with a suction cup on it.
Right.
And you would like twist the light bulbs out and put them back in. That was my job.
Okay.
That was what I did. And they paid me, it must have been like $200 a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Which is not a lot for someone with a heroin habit.
No, really, it goes fast. But I also was doing a lot of stealing. So
hold on. Let's stick with that. Unless I have some questions about plunging. I know that, friend of the show, Danny Glamour, used to do this work at a nursing home, and he talked about having to break some business up with a screwdriver at one point. And I'm curious if you have any stories of things that shouldn't have been there that had plugged the toilet. That's a question. I come from a plumbing family.
Sure. The most common things that I dealt with were tampons in the toilet and hairballs in the shower. And so it was pretty much always women's apartments or dorm rooms that I was working in. And I would show up with this shirt on. The sleeves are cut off, and I would have a bullet belt mismatched with a plumber's like belt, the belt with the bag on it. Yeah. And I would have a plier, like one of those huge industrial, like 3 foot long pliers over my shoulder. And I would say, I'm here to fix your drain. And they would get embarrassed, and I would go in and I would show them the hairball that I pulled out of their drain, or I would reprimand them. These don't go in the toilet. And
you just described a calendar model version.
I know, right?
That, the thing over your shoulder, and sexy plumbers of Minnesota.
I was, and I realized in retrospect, seeing photos, I actually was pretty good looking. Like, I might have been the best looking plumber on the campus.
Yeah, seems like you were really set up for kind of a Cinemax After Dark situation.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm here to snake your drains.
Oy, oy, oy. All right, thanks for that. I'm the only person in my household out of 4 that knows how to plunge a toilet. Nobody's interested in learning.
I replaced. I had to the tower and lever in our toilet broke the other day, and I wasn't sure I would remember how to fix it. But I took a trip to Menards, which is our hardware store, and I bought a new tower and lever setup and was able to install it without having to resort to a YouTube video. So I'm pretty impressed with myself.
Save
Yeah.
big money at Menards.
Yeah. And they play that on a loop all
Yeah.
day long. And I
Oh,
can't
God.
believe the people that work there
Oh,
have to
no.
hear that constantly.
No, okay, I think I've talked about this on the pod before, but I'll repeat this. I worked at Best Buy in the year 2000 when Sting's song Desert Rose was out. And that song, like that Christmas, I'll never forget having to come in because I worked in media when I first worked at Best Buy. I worked in every department, but I was working in the media department then because I thought that was most similar to my old role, and I didn't realize that I was immensely overqualified to work in that section. Like to the point that I was there for like 3 weeks, and they were like, "Okay, how do we get you on the management track?" And I'm like, "I'm 17." But the Sting's Desert Rose was like playing, and they had some sort of deal with Best Buy, I guess sponsoring his tour or something. And I would come in, the normal shift time to come in was 6 a.m. for media, because you'd have to do a lot of CD sorting and put up things and whatnot. But I would come in on Fridays, sometimes during the Christmas season at 5 a.m. And then in the really, really bad season, 4 a.m. And you'd have to
Ugh.
work for like a few hours before the customers came in. And in the video department, they had like the TVs, and the TVs would run songs and things on a loop. And this was something that you couldn't
Yeah.
easily override the same way that you could like the music. Like we could put different CDs in the stereo system to listen to like while we were doing other stuff. But this was something that was like a demo that was set running on all of these big screen TVs. And there'd be like a 45-second like loop of Sting's Desert Rose over and over and over
Wow.
and over and over again. And imagine having to deal with that for hours at a time. I cannot hear that song to this day. I'm mad at Sting to this day, irrationally. And
Yeah.
so for those poor employees at Menards who have to hear that, like I hope that at a certain point they just completely it tunes out and they don't hear it
Yeah.
anymore. But man, is that the worst thing ever.
So
You know,
did only Murders in the Building like help you with your Sting hatred or make it worse?
I mean, I loved him on that. That was actually that was
He
a really
was
nice cameo.
he
That
was
was a
good.
really nice cameo, honestly. That whole show was lovely. I
It
like
was.
the second season a lot too. I'm looking forward to the third
Yeah.
one. Like I enjoy that show. Like well done to the old men and their granddaughter.
yeah. Right. You know, before we move on from our jobs as young people and music that we hated, I worked at a warehouse that was a music distributor, a bunch of different record labels, mostly CDs and cassettes, I guess. No records at that time. I was 19, and they kind of looped the music that they distributed, and that was great because they distributed like Elvis Costello and like a bunch of great old sort of country artists that have been reissued and whatever else. But inexplicably, they also distributed Dangerous Toys, a band who in the late 80s had such hits as Teasin' Pleasin'. And while we're in the ends, there was also Sportin' a Woody. And then there was Take Me Drunk.
Oh
and
boy.
Holy
and
shit.
they were
That's
just
a
the
real
worst.
song.
And yeah, and I was in shipping and receiving along with my friend, whose name I'll protect because I don't know what the statute of limitations is on destroying 30 counts of CDs. But we were
I'm sure
right
it's past,
near
but yeah, it's a good
we,
call.
we were right near the pallet of Dangerous Toys CDs and 30 count boxes, and every time the song came on, it was a couple times a day, he would pull one out and destroy it. He would throw it on the ground, he would stomp on it for every time it played.
So just what genre is this music? Is
Oh,
this hair metal?
Hair metal. Yeah. I mean, clearly. I mean, Sportin' a Woody, like
See,
it's
I
not
don't know. It could have
it's
been
not
a
Americana.
could have been a bare naked ladies kind of thing where they were doing it with like
sure.
a sense of humor from a Canadian perspective. I don't
No,
know.
and the singer brandished a chainsaw. which was stolen from a Minneapolis hair metal band called Slave Raider, which was my First Avenue concert in 6th grade. They were playing with a band called Beat the Meat.
Oh my
Um,
God.
Amazing. It was 6th grade, first time at First Avenue, 1986.
I was about to make some. I was about to like become an old person and be like, I cannot believe that a band like had the name Beat the Meat, and then I realized that my first short film in high school's title was Polishing the Bishop. So
There you
honestly,
go.
like,
There you go.
yeah.
Did they used to let 12-year-olds into the main stage at First Ave?
No, my friend's dad, so the kid that helped me into music, because he had a full like rock band set up in his basement because his dad managed rock bands and later race car drivers and wrestlers.
Nice.
And he got us in because he managed this band, which had like the only, at that time, their bass player was a queer woman.
Oh
Can you
wow.
imagine? Like it's just like incredible. But and they were thrilling as a band to me.
Oh
And the
yeah.
singer had a chainsaw.
I was gonna say, I mean, and because you both talked about it, but you especially, Jeff, like you loved hair metal, like that was your
Loved
thing.
it.
You loved
Yeah,
it, and
loved it.
so you get to see that you're 12, that he has a chainsaw. I mean,
Yeah. He once,
I'm not gonna lie, like that would even now I would even be sort of I mean, I wouldn't like seek out a band that did that,
yeah,
if I was at a concert and that happened, I'd be like, holy
Was
shit,
there
okay.
yeah.
was there a sense of danger? Was there a fear that this chainsaw was actually going to hurt somebody?
I mean, there was a point at which he accidentally put it through the ceiling of a club. and at First Avenue, the ceilings are very high. But I think anytime someone's running an actual gas chainsaw or any other kind, but it was gas, right? You have a risk.
Yeah.
But he used it well. One time he brought a full size cutout of Rick Astley way before Rick rolling and sliced it
And
up with a
sliced it up.
chainsaw.
Oh my
And the
god, so
drummer,
he
go ahead.
originated rickrolling.
Yeah, exactly. The drummer would light his cymbals on fire and could do a one-handed snare roll. Like truly amazing.
Sure. Okay. I used to go see this band, Bile, out of New York, and it's like a 12-person industrial setup, and they would flood the hall with fog machine and then pull out 9mm with a strobe light on.
Oh my
And
God.
sure, it's a stage prop. I'm sure, I hope. But there's this sense of like pants shitting danger when this group of truly demented
Yeah.
industrial artists is pointing a 9mm handgun at you and you can't quite see what's happening.
Right.
And there was this true sense of fear that I have never felt at a live show other than that.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like that's terrifying to think about. Like I think like guns at shows, like that is not like
For
that
sure.
is that is
It
not
would be way worse today than it was back in like 1995. But
well, yeah, but yeah, shoot. I mean,
It couldn't happen today.
no,
It just
oh
could
no,
not.
no. I've told you guys about the time my 16. This was like it was one of the Best Buy guys. So I was like 16. It's when my preppy ass like went to Guar, right?
Yeah, Gwar. Never
Yeah,
saw
and
it, sadly.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea. Like I genuinely had
Yeah.
no idea. And that was an experience.
I went
Yes, I
went
bet
to
it
a
was.
Guar Halloween show in Chicago. It was insane.
There's also the Butthole Surfers, Gibby Haynes. There's video of that band at Lollapalooza in '91, and he fires a shotgun over the crowd.
Holy shit!
So, like
Butthole
3 or 4
Surfers.
times, which was his shtick when he could do it. And I mean, it's just like this was.
But you're at Lollapalooza. Like,
yeah, duck.
like you're not like.
I know.
That's insanity. I mean, now, rightfully, well, like because now, like, what happens is that and it's usually hip hop artists or mumble rappers or whatever. Like, there will be guns like outside of things, and then people get arrested even if like nothing happens. And then
Sure.
like back then, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this part of the show in Chicago at Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
With 40,000 people.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
The counterpoint to that is I remember seeing the Flaming Lips at First Avenue, and they had confetti cannons. And in a place, even though that's a big club, in a place that small, confetti cannons are intense and awesome.
Oh yeah, Taylor Swift has confetti cannons.
Does she?
She does.
Man,
And then
yeah.
people after the show, because she does it at like the end of the show, people like go around and try to collect as much of the paper, the confetti as they can. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys, I'm like,
Is it
chill
all
out.
branded? Is it?
No,
Well,
no.
with what you pay for tickets, you should absolutely walk away with some
Oh.
confetti.
Should at least get the confetti.
You're not wrong, but here's the funny thing: if you buy things from her store or whatever, they include like these, like kind of, what is it? It's not paper mache, but it's like tissue paper, like in stars or hearts or other things inside the
Yeah.
box,
Yeah.
which is like a very nice touch. Except if you're just trying to open something up and get it out, and then now all of a sudden you have like a billion little star cutouts in tissue paper all over your floor, and you're like, "Thanks a lot, Taylor." Like,
Yeah.
so.
This is going to be a perfect segue into our promo swap for the week.
Okay.
But I do have to ask, did you guys read about the Taylor Swift amnesia?
Yes.
Like people going to shows and getting home and realizing they don't remember the show?
No, I want to hear about it.
Okay, I was hoping Christina would be able to explain it better, but I think people get so
They're
like
so into it.
emotionally charged that
Yes.
they experience a type of amnesia.
100%. And I can say, having seen the show twice now, there is some truth to it. Like, it's not like a full on, like, I forgot the experience, but like in the moment, like you're very, very aware of everything happening. But then when you try to go back and reflect, it is kind of difficult to pinpoint the whole thing. I think it's two things. I think one, it's the emotional charge of it. And in the way, and the reason I think that happens is because you literally are around 70,000 plus people who are screaming their heads off, who are dressed up, who are more excited than you've ever seen anybody to be at anything. Like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And then she plays for 3.5 hours. And it's like
Wow.
and it's that constant, like, high level emotion the entire time. And like
So you
people
black out.
pregame. Yeah, I mean, kind of. I think that part of it, it's kind of like an emotional overload thing, right? Like, I think that it's one of those things, because like I didn't take a ton of videos. I took some videos, but not a ton, because I wanted to enjoy the experience. And I don't have like the full on experience of amnesia, but there are certain moments where I'm like, oh wow, like I have to purposefully really think about and remember things that happened,
Yeah.
because it becomes kind of a blur because of just the heightened emotion of everybody around you, which is contagious. So even if you don't have that, like my mom was really brought into it, and she didn't have a lot of context for anything, and then just the fact that it is 3.5 hours,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and 5 different stage setups, and the only break is literally like 90 seconds when she's changing costumes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I have no experience to relate to that. Like
Yeah,
for me, the closest I would have gotten would be seeing Leonard Cohen, and he played for 4 hours, and I
Jesus.
remember like every song. I remember like every minute of that. I didn't have that emotional elevation, I guess, that
Yeah.
you see in like true fandom. Like I'm a
Yes.
huge Leonard Cohen fan, but not to the level of like
Well,
throwing my underwear at the stage and
totally.
selling children to get to shows.
Right, but and I think the thing is that even then though, like, even if you didn't have that level with like Taylor Swift, if you're around again like 70,000 other people who are all really excited, like not all 70,000 have to be that excited. Like, if let's only say like 10,000 were, right?
Sure.
It becomes contagious.
Sure.
Where everybody then is kind of brought into it, the
Yeah.
screaming, the crying. Like, my voice was hoarse both days after. So
Soccer is like that for me. I don't care that
Yeah.
much about soccer, but I get into a crowd that really
Yep.
cares about soccer. I will care about soccer.
Right. And so it's like that. So it's like the dual like psychology, I think, of, but the longevity and like the emotional kind of build up being there, and then also, kind of like the power of the crowd, and
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
being contagious and being kind of on another level. Beyonce's new tour is apparently really long too, and I have to think that her, like, it's probably a similar experience for people. So
Yeah.
So speaking of music,
mhm.
have you ever felt the hassle of swapping between different shows just to savor your favorite mix of genres?
Yes.
Well, say hello to your new favorite audio hub, Cool.fm. At cool.fm, they get it. I'm going to say at the top that's spelled KEWL.fm. Just for clarity. You love the diversity swinging between adult pop, modern country, and classic hits, so they thought, why not bundle it all in one place? They have woven these three popular genres into a single dynamic audio adventure, keeping your earbuds on their toes. But here's the twist, they're not just about the music. Their lively DJs aren't your typical hosts, but true entertainers who are here to share stories, add personality, and ensure your listening experience is nothing short of spectacular. Need a bit more spice? Check out their Saturday night dance party episodes where they spin everything from disco to hip hop and even throw in a country hoedown. And brace yourselves twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays when they play those once chart topping hits that have been lost to the sands of time. The cherry on top? Cool.fm is everywhere you are, online at kewl.fm or on your iPhone or Android device via their app or through the Live 365 app. And they're perfectly synced with all systems like Alexa, Sonos, and more. So, podcast listeners, gear up for the cool experience that's got everything. Visit kewl.fm today. That's cool.fm. I went like radio announcer
You
halfway
did.
through that.
I was gonna say that worked.
It
I think
fit.
it worked.
It fit, right?
It was
Yeah.
100% accurate.
I
and
should have just owned that from the beginning.
You should have, because I think that was the right read for that. So good job with that. Also, I was like looking at the music they played like in the last like hour or whatever, and they're currently playing like a Luke Combs song. So that's a country song, but it's his cover of Fast Car, which is actually a good cover.
Oh, that's a great song.
It's a great song, and it actually is quite a good cover. But previously they played "I'm With You" from Avril Lavigne, which is a great song. And before that, "If It Makes You Happy" by Sheryl Crow. And before that, "Praising You" by Rita Ora, who I'm the only one who will get this, and I'll just say who.
Yep.
Well, no, that's a joke. There's a show, there's a podcast called Who Weekly, who she's like their patron saint. They constantly, rather than mean Us Weekly, they talk about the Who's, like the Who is this person, and she's like the queen of that.
Yeah. Well, it works
like,
because
Why?
I'm like, who?
Exactly. So very, very good lineup, I just have to say. Of tunes.
Have you ever heard David Usher do Fast Cars?
I don't.
Fast Car, or is this a sequel?
Fast Car. Sorry. Yeah, Fast Cars, Fast and Furious. Fast Car.
That was kind of the
Fast Cars
joke.
2, Faster Cars. No, Fast Car. David Usher did a cover of it that was like, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. His album. I forgot the name of his first album. I'll find it. I'll link David Usher in the show notes.
Yeah, I haven't heard his cover.
Everyone should check him out.
I haven't heard his cover, but that's one of my favorite songs ever.
His
so
entire career has been amazing. Like, every album is different. He's like Fugazi, just constantly growing. And
until they didn't.
And he's Canadian. So if you're into Canadians,
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, Canadians make great music. I mean, you're really on a Canadian kick. Like,
I really am bringing up all the Canadian.
Yeah, you're gonna like bring up Our Lady
Canada,
Peace.
Really
yeah, you're gonna bring up like Our Lady Peace pretty soon, and we're all gonna be like,
So can we talk about the original Fast Car, because I listened to it. My spouse has it on a playlist, and I heard it the other night. Every time I hear that song, if I can really listen to it, it's like I've never heard it. Like
it's so beautiful.
It's just and what Tracy Chapman puts into that song is just, it's incredible. It makes me not want to hear a cover, although I'm sure these covers are good. It's just like that. Tracy Chapman is the embodiment of that song, and
she is
for sure.
It's crazy.
Now, have you all seen like the thing from Wembley from like Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday, which was is what made her a superstar. So the backstory of this is that she had played like on a B stage, because I don't even know how many people were at Wembley Stadium for that concert, because this was broadcast all over the world. And, these are big, UK football stadiums, and it's standing room only. So it's literally a sea of people. And Stevie Wonder was supposed to go on in some sort of tribute, and there was something wrong with his equipment. And he basically walked off stage and didn't perform. I think he wound up performing later. And so they were trying to find somebody to like basically fill the time. And so they sent this 23-year-old who had just
Alone.
released her first album alone, to this crowd who is not really that into her, is not really, I think she played on the B stage. The song hasn't hit radio, like it's not anything. And she starts performing Fast Car. And when you watch this video, because it was broadcast, you
Yeah.
see the audience change. Like you can feel the audience change. You can feel everybody shut up.
Yeah.
And then it's just this crowd enraptured by this woman with this guitar singing this amazing song. And
Yeah.
then they give her huge applause. And then because that happened, she got like her first number one because of that. And then it like even like went up the top of the charts in the UK even. And that was basically like, that was it.
Wow.
Nice.
And I just want to point out, as I read about this and watch the video without sound, that she was following UB40.
Yeah.
So hey, yeah. If this is the B stage, it's a
No. They put her up on the main stage.
Oh, got it. She was supposed to be on the B stage.
She had been on the B stage. She'd already performed like 3 songs.
Yeah.
And then they needed somebody to just fill in. And I'm guessing that they needed somebody who didn't have a lot of setup, right? Because again, like it's supposed to be Stevie Wonder. He, bitches out for whatever reason. And because like there was computer disks or something for, calling it bitching out is probably wrong. But
I was gonna say, be careful. It's Stevie.
That's what I'm saying. That's It's probably unfair. I don't know, but I don't know the details. I was 5 years old. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
but then this thing happens, and it's kind of this amazing moment, and it's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But before the concert, she'd sold about 250,000 albums, which, to be clear, is impressive today. But in 1988, I don't know. And within the following 2 weeks, she sold 2 million.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I'm so glad this is a piece of music trivia I did not know.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put it in the place in my head that is the largest part of it. And put it in there with the music trivia. Along with the performance date of Beat the Meat at First Avenue. All right, what's next?
I would love to talk about the VisionPro.
Yeah.
I feel like us as ostensibly a tech podcast, we had to get there eventually.
We did. Well, look, we're Mac enthusiasts, and we're tech enthusiasts, and we're technologists to a certain extent, all of us. And we got to talk about this thing.
I went into it. So I read all this stuff about how Cook like distanced himself from the project, and how what he really wanted was glasses, and the Vision Pro. At the time that this article was written, they didn't know it would be called the Vision Pro. But I don't remember what the rumored name was. But like basically everyone seemed disappointed with what was happening, and they were going to put it out because they'd put enough R&D into it. And I went into it expecting to be underwhelmed. And by the time I got through that section of the keynote, the half-hour long One More Thing, I was sold, and not sold enough to buy a Gen 1.
Right.
Like I'm resisting the urge to buy the 3500 because supposedly they have a cheaper model in the works.
They have to.
Right.
There's no way they sell this thing and make it mainstream at 3500. There's just no way.
But the thing that like it's not designed for. I mean, so they have like a gaming portion of it, but not in the way that.
No, that's really not what it is. No, this is a productivity device. This is a facial computer. Honestly.
And that's what I've always wanted my Oculus to be. Like if Oculus does not work with a Mac desktop, like you can't load it up. No. Just the idea of loading up, like on my Oculus, I watch Netflix movies, and I watch my own movies using Skybox, and I can sit back, and it's like owning a movie theater. Because I can watch these movies like immersively on a screen I could never afford, but for $500 with an Oculus I can. But being able to tie my keyboard and my trackpad in and see my Mac desktop
and have
on multiple screens in 3-dimensional space, that's worth that. So the displays I use,
I was gonna say that's two studio displays.
right, exactly. The displays I use on my computer are not studio displays, but they're $1,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So if anything that gives me more screen real estate than these two 32-inch monitors, that's it's for an extra grand, like unlimited space. I can just turn in my chair and see
Mhm.
all of it. Like I'm sold. I'll wait till V2. I'll wait till Gen 2, but holy
Yeah.
shit, that blew me away.
No, I have a similar thing. Like I had almost the identical experience where I was on This Week in Tech the day before the announcement, and they were asking me, they're like, "Well, what is the thing that could make you agree to spend?" And at the time, we thought it was going to be $3,000, not $3,500. They're like, "What would you need to see to make it worth $3,000?" And what I said was, I was like, "Well, if they could actually make this something that I could replace my monitors with." And
Mhm.
use this as like a high fidelity, high resolution, kind of like infinite space screen, I could justify it that way because I do have a studio display. I think it's a complete overpriced thing. I mean, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't want any other display. I want Retina. And because my main computing setup is a 27-inch iMac, and then I have the studio display next to it, and then I have my various CalDigit hubs so I can plug in my laptop or laptops, plural, to use it. So but I would love to be able to, like you said, just have because I like watching movies on the Oculus, but I would love to just have that experience of having, really high fidelity, screens everywhere. Like that is
Yeah.
kind of my dream. And that would be something I could justify from a, financial point of view. And then that is what they showed off. And I went, shit, now I want one. And
Right.
and then my friend Ray at Inverse, he wore one and he was mind blown. And when he was talking to me, even like after, he was like even more effusive than he was in his hands-on article. And he had been really skeptical. Like he had been kind of ragging on it even after the presentation, right? Like he'd been in the audience in Cupertino. He was like, nobody cheered. He was like, the energy was really off. He's like, this thing's stupid, like whatever. And then I texted him after he had his demo the next morning. He was like, holy shit, CMAC. He was like, you're gonna have to get one of these things. Like, this is insane. You have to see this. You have to experience this. And I asked him and I said, I understand it was on the rails. I understand that it was very, like the demo was very constructed. I was like, but how different was the experience that you had versus like what they telepathed for us at home? Because to me, that's important because almost always what you see in those, presentations of what it's going to be like is completely different than what the actual experience is. Like, is very different for HoloLens. Hell, it's different for Oculus. It's obviously different for Google Glass. And he said that it was basically exactly the same.
Crazy.
Well,
And so
kind of
that's exciting.
here's the shame that it brought up in me. I noticed in the very, I mean, it was like watching Blade Runner, watching that promo. That
Yes.
lady with like, she's wearing like I don't know what that is, like a very thick tablecloth with a head hole. Wore it great. And there's a point at which she's doing her computing and there's a gesture where you look down. It's like seems to be a meaningful gesture. So I can't type without looking down. And I'm wondering, am I screwed? Do I not get to have this experience?
No. So what everybody that I've talked to who's used it and everything that I've watched said is they have this eye tracking capability that is just amazing. And so
Wow.
the thing is that the way the eye tracking works, because they bought a company, whose name I can't think of, an Israeli company who was doing some really amazing eye tracking stuff. You do kind of a little calibration
for some really creepy reasons, probably.
yeah, probably. But they were, but they you calibrate it, and then like basically it's so minute and it's so precise that when you look at something, like it knows where you're looking at what you're trying to do. And I guess it's looking at kind of like your fixed thing, and then the gestures are precise too, where you can just kind of pinch something or just kind of move something away, and it doesn't have to be like in a certain field of view or anything. Like you don't have to, like your gestures don't have to be in front of a camera or anything. To me, it reminded me of Minority Report, and that's what I thought when I first watched the presentation.
Yeah, right.
And then people have told me that too. They're like, yeah, it was like Minority Report.
Like I had a leap motion, And I really enjoyed, like, for Minority Report reasons, I really
Yes.
enjoyed being able to, like, flip things around my
Yep.
screen, cause actions to happen when I, push 3 fingers versus 2 fingers. It was great. But it's a lot of physical activity
Right. This is minute.
compared, right, exactly, compared to just typing on a keyboard and using a mouse. And I wasn't super down with the idea of waving my hands around all day.
Right.
So, and Apple knows this.
They do.
And
They do.
when they wanted gesture tracking on their device, they wanted it to be something you could do in your lap with a couple of fingers. And I think they
Absolutely.
nailed that.
Totally. And that's what everybody who used it said. They were all like, they were shocked at how precise the tracking was and how precise even like the little tiny little gestures were. They
Yeah.
were not expecting it to work as well as it did. And
Sure, because we've all had leaps.
I was going to say, we've all had leaps.
Yeah.
We had connects. We've seen these things, and in fairness to Minority Report, and I think that this is why Apple is smarter than some other companies for some of these things. Also, in fairness to the other companies, Apple's had 21 years since Minority Report came out
Sure.
to perfect this. But in Minority Report, like the tech that they were basing it on, which was real, like they exaggerated it because it's a movie. So
Right.
you need to show
Sure.
Right.
like the gestures of what's happening. Because
Sure.
I talked to some of the creative team like 11 years ago about that. And so, but that's not how you would really want this to be. But I mean, I do think that people are going to look like dumbasses with it on. I don't think it
Oh
matters.
my God, the thing where your eyes are coming out. I mean, it's great. You can see.
There's a lot of uncanny valley. The fake eyes and the way that you appear in a FaceTime call to other people.
Yeah.
That's guaranteed to be pretty weird, at least at first. It is what it is. I guess I'm not super concerned about it. I
Yeah.
like the idea, even if it's not my real eyes, the idea that someone can see that I'm making eye contact with them
Yes.
while
Yeah,
I have this headset.
Definitely.
Because there's no way that's happening with an Oculus. You're
yeah.
just
It's
flinging it around.
relationally important.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, and I think that the way that they, other than like the one experience they showed off, which I think was rightfully kind of, made fun of, where like the dad was recording things at the birthday
that
party.
was
Yeah,
great.
right.
And I'm like,
That's the one
"Don't,"
everyone brings up.
which you should. I mean, honestly, because it's not a great scenario. Like, I understand if it is a good camera wanting to capture moments, but at the same time, no. Let's all accept the fact that maybe you hire someone to do that,
Yeah,
right?
And also, can I just say, as a parent who went through a lot of birthday parties, you need to be vigilant.
Yeah,
I mean, I broke my own foot at a child's birthday party.
right,
You know,
right.
like you got to be careful.
right.
At least it was your foot.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's true. That's a good call because you don't want to have to pay for somebody else's. But
Yep.
but like putting that kind of aspect of it aside, like I think that really how they portrayed this to me, which I think is interesting because it is Mark Zuckerberg mentioned this in his comments, and I agreed with him, although I kind of took a different response from this, is that this seems like it's a very solitary experience, which for me is completely okay. Like
Yeah.
I feel like for these experiences, like I'm not really sure if I'm
All
comfortable.
of my computing is solitary.
Right. Like I was going to say, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with like the Zuck world where we're all going to be pseudo together, but wearing headsets. Like that to me is more uncanny valley and kind of fucked up than like if I'm in
Yeah.
a scenario where this is my primary computer or this is an extension of my computer and I'm not supposed to be using this 24/7. Right.
Right.
Like
Right.
I kind of appreciate that thing more. Like obviously we know where the long game would be is that these things will get thinner and smaller and more, like glasses like and be able to be integrated in more ways. Fine. But we're not there yet and I'm okay completely personally being like, yeah, I'm going to be using this by myself,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Friends, I'm looking at the clock and I realize that there's a topic I want to get to, which is Christina's article on gaming in the Mac. And I'm thinking with that and GrAPPtitude, that might be it for us.
Yeah,
Does that
let's
feel
do it.
all right?
Yep.
Sure.
So Christina, I want you to summarize for me as you did some of this in the article. First of all, tell us the article.
Yes.
Where can people find it? What is it?
Yeah, so I again at Inverse, my friend Ray asked me to write an article about the. He asked if I had any pitches, and I pitched this to him because I thought this was, other than the Vision Pro, the most exciting part of WWDC for me was that Apple released this game porting toolkit, which is a developer tool that is designed to basically let developers test to see how well their DirectX 12 games, and that means these are their Windows games running,
Yeah.
using DirectX 12, will work on Apple Silicon Macs. And so I looked into how this game porting toolkit worked, and I realized that it's largely wine under the hood.
Mm.
Apple actually created like a 26,000 line diff to crossover, and then they put it inside a homebrew file. Which at first I
Huh.
thought was really insane, and then I realized the reason they had to patch it that way is because Crossover doesn't have, or Codeweavers, the company, doesn't have a public Git server, so they just have their source code like in tarballs. And
Mm.
so this was probably the most efficient way to distribute a patch.
Sure.
Still a weird way to do it, but it made more sense. And so basically, this is ostensibly a developer tool, but people have already figured out ways to. But it's clearly been tested by people at Apple to work with modern AAA games like Diablo 4 and Hogwarts Legacy and Cyberpunk 2077, and basically using this game porting toolkit, which is similar to Proton by Valve. You can run x86 DirectX 12 games on Apple Silicon, basically using two translation layers. So it's translating the x86 code to ARM64 via Rosetta 2, and then it's translating the DirectX 12 calls into Metal calls using Apple
Man.
stuff. But the performance is shockingly pretty decent, and that's without any optimizations. So I wrote about this for Inverse. We'll have a link in the show notes, and the article is called "Apple's Secret Weapon to Getting PC Games on Mac," and the subhead is "It's the best thing to happen to Mac gaming in 30 years."
And the buried lead is the bridge to gaming on the Mac is tarballs.
Tarballs through homebrew.
Yeah, exactly.
Updates.
It was
Just
there all
hilarious.
along.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
I feel like an Apple homebrew formula showed up in your GitHub stars, and now I can't find it.
It did, and but I'll find it. I'll get it for you.
So I'm curious, like actually seeing in the Vision Pro like promo thing, seeing like how it looks when you hook up your PS5 was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I have a PS5 and I can't wait. But like, I'm so curious why the utter absence of any other sort of gaming reference. I get that that's not what it's for exactly, but like they've got their Apple Arcade and all this stuff. But like, I watched it with my two teenagers and they're like, it is insane that there is no actual gaming, like highlighted here. What's the story with that?
So I'm of two opinions on this. I think that it largely because they want to set expectations correctly. And my thought is on this, like we're starting to get reports that the refresh rate in these displays are like 90 hertz or higher. And so for gaming, that's going to take a lot of power and a lot of optimization. And I think that they are right now wanting to focus on experiences that they know they can deliver.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, in my opinion, this is part of why they introduced this toolkit. Like it ostensibly isn't for the headset, but I think that this is how the only way they know they can potentially get games in mass quantities on the headset. They know that no one is going to be building these things natively for metal. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed.
Wait, what are they called? AAA games? Is that
AAA games? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and AAA game developers don't. I mean, like I even mentioned in the article, and every year at WWDC we get some sort of gaming thing, and it's always some 4-year-old title. And this year it was no exception. It's like a 4-year-old game, and we're all supposed to be excited that it's on the Mac, and we're like, what the fuck, guys? Like, no one. This is never happening. Now, I even tweeted during the keynote, I was like, gaming on the Mac is never going to happen. Stop trying to make it happen. And then a day later, when I looked at this, Apple game porting toolkit, I had to sort of like,
oops,
like, eat my words a little bit, because depending on how well they support some of this stuff, now I think it actually could.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Well, I was grateful for the article. Highly recommend it. You don't see that I haven't seen over the years that many like actual articles about gaming in the Mac. I see a lot of complaints. I see a lot of rants, but like giving that kind of the technical piece of it and the history of it the way you did was great.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to do. Like a lot of other YouTube videos had already come out about it, and some people had even written up the toolkit, but they didn't. I don't think they understood the technical stuff as well, and they didn't really
Yeah.
understand kind of the history. And so I was really grateful that Inverse let me write what I wrote, and I was able to talk about the parallels between that and Proton for Steam, bringing gaming to Linux. And look, this is all still in Apple's court, how much they want to support this. But even if Apple's like, we're not going to continue to update this, and we're not going to, go out of our way to make optimizations as little work as possible, the gaming on Mac community is already out in a fervor, and people will come up with ways for people to be able to play their games much more easily, and that's already happening. Like 10 days after this thing,
Yeah.
appeared, which is exciting.
Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. Who wants to GrAPPtitude?
Oh, I'm super excited about my GrAPPtitude.
Tell us.
Well, why don't you begin?
I'll kick it off. I want to talk about Paprika. It is a recipe manager that is available for every platform: Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, probably Chrome. I don't know. But it is, I've used a bunch of recipe management apps over the years, and Paprika, like you can, any recipe on the web, you can run through its downloader and it will take out the 20 paragraphs they always include of like how I went to Tuscany and fell in love with this recipe and all this bullshit. And it will get you just the ingredients and the instructions. And the ingredients, it will recognize all forms of measurement. It can convert between metric and imperial. You can scale it with a dial of a button. You can say, I want to make this for 4 people, or I only want to make this for 1 person. It will scale the recipe. It will adjust the nutritional information based on scale. It will it has cloud sync. That's a big thing.
Nice.
So like and you can create a grocery list. You can pick the recipes you want to make for the week and then create a grocery list, and it'll combine similar ingredients. Like if you have 1 egg in one recipe and 2 eggs in another recipe, it'll just put 3 eggs on your grocery list, and then it'll share that list between multiple people. And the sync is fast enough that if you're both in the grocery store at the same time, you can be checking off things as you pick them up, and the other person's list will update in real time, which is fantastic. If you like, I don't do well. I can go to the co-op on my own, but it's way easier for me if it's an errand hang. If L comes along and we're both in this together, and Paprika allows us to like split up the store and get it done in half the time. It's got cool features like while you're cooking a recipe and you have the ingredients list up, you can tap any ingredient to mark it off as you prep it, so you can keep track of your prep time. Oh man, it's the best recipe manager app I've ever found, and it works for everybody. And you can send like Paprika formatted recipes to other people that use Paprika, and it can export as like HTML and PDF. So if you want to share a recipe with someone who doesn't use Paprika, it's a click away. It's awesome.
Awesome.
That's awesome. I've thought about I've looked at this for years. I don't cook enough, but you've almost got me sold even just talking about this. And I genuinely cook so little that it would be like it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me. But that's awesome.
Even just for grocery list management, it's awesome.
Well, and that's actually kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm like, I might be able to do this. And then there's an iOS app too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
I mostly use it on iOS, but I also have it for Mac, and I can like add recipes from my Mac if I find them while I'm browsing through like RSS or whatever. I can just open it up in Paprika, download it as a new recipe, share it with anyone I want to. Yeah.
that's awesome.
That's great. What about you, Christina? I
All
could
right.
go. It doesn't matter.
All right. So mine is Typing Mind. This is a new addition to Setup. It came out, I think, like last week, and this was there's the website. If you go to typingmind.com, you can kind of see what it is. It's basically like a better interface for Chat GPT. But the Setup version is the Mac app, because the normal app is like $50 or $60 or something if you want to buy it directly from them. Um, but the Setup version is free, and not only can you bring your own um, uh, OpenAI key if you want to use like GPT-4 or whatever, but it also includes free usage for GPT 3.5 for various token sizes through Setup. So this is a really great way if you want something that's a little bit of a better user interface. And it also has like a thing where it can have like prompt libraries, and you can sync things across devices if you want to. And you can even like upload documents to do stuff. Obviously, be aware of the various privacy policies involved
Right.
with these models before you do things like that. But I think that this was one that I was really impressed by, to to see that it's on Setup, and it's free now. So if you're a Setup user, but I really liked the user interface as well as a Mac app. So Typing Mind is my pick of the week.
Nice. I got to try that out. I have loaded so many. I mean, once they opened up the API, like the market was flooded, and
Totally.
there's a whole bunch of fucking spam too, for
Yeah.
like actually like malware claiming to be Chat GPT based.
Yeah. They have an official app now, and for iOS, by the way. There is an
Oh,
official
interesting.
ChatGPT app. So that is like OpenAI actually made an app, which is, I think, really important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, I've tried so many different interfaces, and I love Setup, and I love um local native apps, so I'm gonna give this a shot.
Yeah, you can self-host it on your own domain too. I don't know if you can do that with the Setup version or not, but I know that's something you can do with like the other version. And so I'd be surprised, because I think one of the rules of Setup, right, is that it can't be any different or whatever.
Right. It has to be full functionality.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how all that works, but yeah, I looked at this app when it came out, and I was just like, I'm not gonna spend $40 or $60 on a wrapper, for this, website. Like, as nice as it looks or whatever, I'm not gonna do that. But as part of Setup, I've given it a shot, and I've enjoyed it. So yeah.
Real quick before Jeff goes, have you guys seen the AI generated image based QR codes?
No.
Oh my
No.
God. It's like with AI, with stable diffusion and open AI, you can generate photographic images that have QR codes built into them. And I will put some links to a Twitter thread in the show notes. But there is now a Discord server where you can go to generate these yourself based on any QR code you want.
Wow.
What I would show you right now so you could react in real time, but I'll just drop it in the show notes. They're fascinating. It's amazing.
Awesome.
That's really
Sounds
cool.
great. I've got a CrAPPtitude wrapped up in my GrAPPtitude.
Okay.
So this is such a stupid GrAPPtitude, but I have been forced to use Google Docs constantly for the first time in my life.
It's the
And
worst.
I find it maddening, except for one stupid feature that they just added that I really appreciate. But first, can I just complain about two specific things
Please
that drive me
do.
crazy?
Please do.
So the only way I can work in like Word is in terms of like formatting stuff that makes me crazy is there you can show non-printing characters like paragraphs and line breaks, and you can see where it's mixing those up and stuff, and you can actually find and replace those things, so like if you need paragraph but it's paragraph line break, you can find paragraph and
Yeah.
and replace it with paragraph line break, right? So Google added non-printing characters that you can see, but you can't fucking do anything about it. So you just go through the same maddening process of trying to like change the formatting while watching the non-printing characters not change. And I know there's like there are ways in which to do this, but it should be so intuitive. And the other thing that makes me crazy is when you're formatting, like you can you can make custom formatting for headings 1 through like 6, but you can't make one for like quotes. I just don't understand how that doesn't exist. Anyway, my GrAPPtitude is for this very simple functionality called approvals that they've just added, where you can formally request approvals from people, so that instead of just like collaborating and feeling like people are done commenting, you can actually ask people to be like, hey, check off on this, like, are we done with this, you know? And in my work and with our organization, that's like really important, because it's so easy for a version to go out as final that actually wasn't final. And there are definitely people on our teams that you want to see a document because they're gonna spot the things, you know what I mean? And it reminded me actually of something I loved about my very first like sort of job, which was working for this organization that sent like delegations to Iraq during sanction era Iraq and all that stuff. Anyway, the woman who started that organization, if we all worked in one room with like 4 computers all named after like Marx Brothers or other people back in the day. I don't know who did that, but if she would write something for publication, like an op-ed or something like that, no matter who was in the room, if it was just a couple of like volunteers from the art school that came by for the day, she would put everyone's name on the document. She printed out, put everyone's name on the document with a checkbox, and she would just want everyone to read it and make sure that they felt like it made sense to them. Like if they spotted something, you would all check it off, and it made for such good outputs. And so anyway, I've been talking about that in my teams forever, but now there's like a way to do that in Google Docs, which otherwise drives me crazy. That's all.
I don't blame you.
GrAPPtitude. Love
I
it.
feel like it's a bad habit. It's bad juju to bring in GrAPPtitude because this is all about GrAPPtitude.
No, I think look. Google is a nearly $1 trillion company, or maybe they are over $1 trillion. I'm not sure. No, they are a $1 trillion company. They're not a $2 trillion company. That's what it is. And in Google Docs, like, we're grateful for the collaboration method, but also I think that it's completely fair to be like, it sucks.
Yeah. Like
in a lot of ways,
it
sucks.
You need a non-printing characters team? Like, what's going on?
No joke. Like I struggle with it because we use it at GitHub, and then I, like, when I was writing this thing, I've written a couple things for Ray now, and I, like you, have never, even when it's been the primary thing that I've used at every other organization I've worked at, but Microsoft, I've used it as sparingly as possible, and I've in the last year had to actively use it, and I'm just like, I hate this.
It's so frustrating.
And it's not that Word is even better, but it's better.
It is.
I'm writing for a publication right now where, like, we do all our drafts with Markdown files.
Love
but
that.
before I submit the final, I have to convert it to a Google Doc.
Yeah, same. I do that too. I do it all the time.
What fucking CMS are you using that it's easier to go from a Google Doc to your CMS than it is from a Markdown file?
No, I've had the same question. I mean, well, that was a problem that I actually, like, it was Nashville when they switched to their own CMS. That was one of the things that I had to, like, make them make product changes for, because they're like, oh, well, you can just paste from the Google Doc. And I'm like, you don't understand. I go out of my way to not do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, can I just type in the plain text or the HTML? Or I wasn't even going to ask for Markdown because I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, yeah.
The beauty of Markdown is that when it converts, it literally can't create invalid markup.
Yes.
Right.
Like, a Word document or a Google document absolutely can create invalid
100%, and will make it awful. And that's the thing, is like, no CMS in their right mind, for good reason, even the Microsoft ones would be like, oh yeah, paste in. And I've worked on some really terrible Microsoft CMSs that vendors have built that are, I've seen things that you can't unsee. But even in those scenarios, you would not have people pasting in Word docs because people know better. Like, I think Word is better than Google Docs, but I still would never want to paste that stuff into any other thing, even another Word doc. I'm like, but so why somehow people are like, oh, but Google Docs is somehow different. It's like, no, it's actually not. And in some cases,
really
it's worse, because it's
Yeah.
not as well documented, and you know, like,
And it's a less of a structured document format that even a docx is.
well, that's what I was gonna say. You can add a zip to you can replace docx with .zip, and you can see the structure of the document and
Yeah.
open up all the XML and see everything you need to see.
Mhm.
You can't do that with a Google Doc.
And Brett, I think we all know how the CMS you were describing came to be. It was an IT conference. It was the company with the highest number of perfectly aligned sort of polo shirts with just the right size of the logo, and then the best party, the best like banquet, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's how you end up with these CMS.
Best DJ. Yeah.
Best DJ. Yeah. The IT guys are like,
Best
whoa,
dinner.
doing a little dance, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. This is all right. My people are going to love this. All right.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, for real.
Well,
you're
all
in
of
a
us.
hurry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That was
Also,
great.
thanks, Christina. This has
Yeah.
been fun. It's good to be back together. We're gonna miss you, Jeff.
Yeah.
We are.
I'll
Have
miss
an
you guys,
amazing
too.
time. Have an
Thank
amazing,
you.
amazing time with the family.
Thank
And
you.
hope everybody stays like well this time. Like nobody's
Yeah.
allowed. No one's allowed to leave the house or
Yeah, we've
get
been
sick.
conscious of that since my last one was canceled by COVID. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's like got like the rules where you're like, all right,
Yep.
like we're in lockdown.
Totally. Exactly. That's how I like it. Well, get some sleep. Get a long sleep. Well, I'll
Get
be
some
I'll
sleep.
be away.
Sleep.
Mhm.
The system is going down now.
Hey there, good people. Before you go, we have a bunch of new places where you can interact with us. Please check out our Instagram feed, our YouTube channel, Twitter, of course, and sign up for the Overtired newsletter, which will sort of pick up where the show leaves off, with expanded show notes, a little bit of what the three of us get up to between episodes, and let's face it, there'll be some musings. How can you resist musings? You'll find details for all the ways to interact with us in the show notes and at overtired.com. And thank you, as always, for listening.